we're just gonna start off with our Fallout review, and
it's a meaty one.
It's a meaty one.
Yeah.
I'll let you start.
Sure. Yeah. Kind of hard to talk about the show like generally, because so much does happen in these 8 episodes. But I think I was surprised how well they were able to pull off adding to the lore of Fallout. I know some people might not agree with me on that sentiment, but I think it was so nice having like a show that was essentially Fallout 5. You know, you basically got new characters, a new vault, a new grand story that tied into the overall grand story of Fallout pretty beautifully, I'd have to say. And then you centered it around these 3 characters that for the most part were pretty great and well-written characters. Had a lot of flaws and some great arcs throughout the 8 episodes. And it kind of wrapped up really nicely, gave us a lot of answers, and set us off for a season 2. So
yeah,
I don't have a ton of complaints. This was a really well done show, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I am biased when it comes to this IP. So with that being said,
a little bit.
I absolutely loved this show. I cannot wait to watch it again.
Yeah, same.
I think a lot of Fallout fans, or at least I, definitely always wondered what would a Fallout show look like and how would you do it. And it felt like kind of a really hard thing to accomplish, because like we were talking with our friend Ryan yesterday, that out of all the Fallout games, like the one that's the most RPG, like true RPG, is probably New Vegas, because you really could be whoever. Like, you don't know who the courier is, and so you and the thing about Fallout is you can play it so many different ways. Where so it's like kind of hard. Who are you going to decide is your main character? Because somebody might want to play it a different way, or somebody might react to playing the game in different ways. And I think what was so smart about this show was you have 3 leads who all are playing the game, interacting with the world in their own unique ways. And they also allow for you to be able to experience all these different factions of the wasteland. And these different plot lines, like we get a vault mystery, we get to like get some like enclave sort of stuff, we get to have this New California Republic storyline, we get to have learn about the Brotherhood of Steel and how that works. So there was all these different like side quest stories that all kind of coalesced with each other, which I think was done so well. And I also think that they took things from the world and they gave them to you in really smart, loving, like to the property. Like, they didn't do things just to do things. If they showed you things that were in the game, they treated it with like reverence, and with like they made you feel that, like, instead of going the video game route of like being like, oh, this is kind of goofy, they made it feel as though, like, when you play the game, when you see a yogai bear, like, your reaction, especially if you don't have the fucking health for it, might be to like run away.
Sure. But that isn't a main character to the argument of like how that is like kind of rough that a knight of the Brotherhood of Steel would run away from a Yao guy.
Sure.
You know, and I get what you're saying.
But I'm saying, like, that's something that like somebody might do.
Sure.
And like just little things getting.
They make it feel like it's the world of Fallout, but also like you're living in the real world. You know.
Yeah, like when you have Radaway, like when Lucy needs to use Radaway, like they treat it like it's this longer process, and they make it feel like a real, like everything in but it feels like
like stim packs are more accurate to the game. Like I was shocked how it really is just you apply it and then like they applied it to dog meat in like the second episode, and he was like about to die, and then he was like, nope, I'm good. So like there is stuff like that I really do appreciate how like accurate to the game that it stayed,
Yeah, which I think with the idea of like a stim pack in general is like it's a stimulation pack, like it's getting your it's almost like an adrenaline boost right, sort of thing. Yeah. So it's, and obviously like it because we've set up that like we have these fucking axolotls that have turned into these giant like gulpers or whatever, like we're there's a bit of a suspended disbelief. So like it feels like it works in the world. Sure. So it doesn't, and it still feels grounded enough that it's like, could this potentially be how things work in the future? Right. But yeah, anyways, I think I really don't have any complaints. I loved watching this. The only downside I think is unfortunately I do feel like this show, even though it's very popular and a lot of people are talking about it, it just feels weird that it was like, I think I like that it was released all at once, because like it's like getting a new Fallout game. Like you just get to get the whole story, like go through the whole story at whatever pace you like. In that sense, sure. But in terms of this being like Shogun, like that's been releasing week to week, and me and my coworker have been talking about it all week. Now the entire fucking office is talking about Shogun because we talk about it every week. Well, and like
the entire internet seemed like they were talking about X-Men 97, the new episode every week, and like the discussion around that every week seemed, even though I wasn't following it, like it seemed very in depth, and like everyone was like talking about great plot points of that week. And whereas like, if you hadn't seen a certain episode, you're avoiding spoilers. So you're not like going to online to talk about it. You're waiting till the end. And then at that point, like there's not a ton of discussions like there would be if like the finale just dropped and you would just watch it with everyone else, Yeah. So it is a bit of a bummer that they dropped it all at once. I hope they kind of do it differently for season 2. But yeah, there is news now of a season 2. If those of you out there don't know, which is pretty amazing, I have to say.
I was telling Ian and our friend Ryan yesterday that when we got to the end of the season and you see Hank, do
you want to call it spoilers? We haven't really said spoilers yet.
I don't know. I feel like I've been saying stuff that's spoilery. So I mean, yeah,
it's just a hard cap. We're saying spoilers for the rest of the review right here. Okay.
When we see him in the power armor go over the Deathclaw skull, and we see New Vegas in the distance, the
skyline. Yeah.
I felt like the woman in Dune Part 1, where she just starts screaming and just saying like, sometimes in the face of a revelation, like you don't know what to do. And I just started like shaking, and I had goosebumps, and I just like, and then the end of the episode, like one of my favorite things about the show was I love when every episode it's like kind of like a loading screen, like the Bethesda thing shows up, all the people who are a part of it. And you get like those cool little Fallout like title cards that are all doing new things each episode. I
love it.
At the end of each episode, there's like either
new scenery.
Yeah, like new scenery, of which like I feel like calls back to like the loading cards.
Sure.
But also that last one was New Vegas.
Right. Which was like immediate, like, hint that we're going to see that next season.
Right. So yeah, definitely going to get New Vegas next season, which is exciting. I never thought that I would ever get to see that. So that's but incredible.
It does look run down now. Like it's been abandoned for a bit. So it's not your prime New Vegas that you remember.
Yeah. So, and I think that's a good thing. Like I think it's smart to treat this like a sequel to the games, and not revisit things in the way that we had seen them before.
Yeah, I agree.
So we get a whole new experience, even though it's somewhat familiar. And I think that's cool, and I think that's interesting. I think going back to like seeing New Vegas exactly how it was, sure, like it would be fun, but I would rather have like cool new lore, revolving around that.
Sure.
And I know some people were arguing like they think that the episode 6 and episode 8 kind of are clashing with the lore, but like I've read what they were talking about, and it's like
I feel like it only clashes with like certain endings,
Yeah.
People are not going to like you taking sides of like, I guess, an ending, but
sure, but
you have
like
to do it.
I agree with that. Like there's usually one ending to each story that you're like, well, that was just for fun,
Right. I would say probably the Institute ending for Fallout 4 is the one that's like just for fun.
Yeah. And I think the one for the Legion in New Vegas, it's like, well, that was for fun. Like nobody's like, no, I don't think anybody's really like thinking like the Legion is like going to be the new power in Vegas and whatnot. Right. But regardless, like the bomb is supposed to have gone off at Shady Sands, like pretty soon after the events of New Vegas. And to be like, I don't know, it's been 15 years. Like if Mr. House won, if the Courier won, if the NCR won, it all doesn't really, I don't really feel like it matters, because any number of things could have happened afterwards. And maybe we'll learn something, maybe we'll commit to some sort of canon, but like to me, like we don't know.
And I don't think season 2 really has to go too far in depth with like the canon of New Vegas. I think you can really look to the future or maybe just stay in its current setting and deal with the problems we're like dealing with right now, rather than like giving us a history lesson. But yeah, I don't know about you at this point, but I would love to like go back to the very beginning for our review here.
Sure. Yeah. Sorry. I know we're
kind of right at the very end. Right. But I'd love to just kind of like, I think the most logical way in my mind of how to like talk about everything is to go through like the 3 main character stories, like at one at a time.
Sure.
And I guess I'll start with my favorite of the 3. Which is Walton Goggins, Cooper Howard. I think it was incredible to see a character start off like Fallout 4, like before the bombs. I love that kind of old world like character aspect that is brought into this new world. Also
the birthday scene, when he's just talking to his daughter about like the size of the bomb in approximation to the size of her thumb. And, everybody's like kind of trying to avoid, like the one woman's trying to avoid people like talking about what's going on. And then just like all the bombs going off, and you're like,
yeah, that was a lot of bombs. Yeah, that was crazy. But also like the fact that they were that close really does make me think that like either his daughter is a ghoul or she just died. Like I mean, he was just like, if it's close enough to where your thumb isn't covering it, then you don't have a chance, and that was the case. Yeah,
so. She very well could be. Right. I think one of the, like what you were saying about Cooper being one of, like we were talking yesterday about it, and Ian was saying like he's arguably the most important character of this entire universe.
I mean, at least top 3,
like, top 3.
Yeah.
And I think one of the great things about this show in particular is the flashbacks to his character.
So good. It's so good at unraveling the mystery of the whole season. And
I think we're going to get like more of it in the next season. Like I hope so. I don't, because
I think we would be losing out on something like special without it.
Yeah, and I think there's still more story to tell. Like I don't necessarily like he.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think we got a lot of answers, but yeah.
I think there's still more story to tell with him back then,
sure.
Which is exciting.
Yeah. but yeah, what else I loved about his character? Yeah, I mean, besides the flashbacks and learning that, you know, he was a cowboy, you know, like Western actor, and that, you know, Vault-Tec was like the first ads he had ever done.
Also, the nice Easter egg of like they did the Vault-Tec suit in his colors, because his colors were like the blue and the gold cowboys. I was like,
I love that. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it was perfect. It was perfect. I didn't even notice that his colors were blue and yellow, like when he was wearing his own outfits. I was just like, oh, it just looked normal for like an old timey like cowboy, you know?
And I mean, like, he is the Vault Boy, you know, like,
yeah, he is.
It's
yeah.
It's just the story behind it is like, I don't know.
And the way they tie him in is just so great.
I don't know how they do like a Fallout 5 like game. But yeah, I don't know. Anyways, sorry, go on. It's just kind of incredible.
But yeah, and then you cut to him in the modern day, you know, where he's essentially a different character. He's playing two different characters in this show. Like, props to Walter Goggins for being an incredible actor.
Yeah.
And like, in one, sitting through that entire process of makeup that he had to do, hour and a half every day. It was 5 hours at one point. And then acting his ass off in two different roles, technically. So yeah, and then, you know, as the Ghoul, he was this incredible badass of a character who like commanded every scene. Like, one of my favorite scenes he was in was when he showed up at the lead farmer's house. Oh my god, dude, he was like,
he ate up that
pure
scene.
Western villain. He was so great. Oh my gosh, just the pure intimidation tactics of making them think he was eating their daughter, and like, I was like, oh my god, dude, he's killing it.
Also, the just the slow reveal of like, but what about, maybe you don't come after me today,
right?
But who's to say 10 years
someday
from now,
you will, right?
And also,
reaching for that gun.
When I saw the lead farmers in the NCR helmets, dude, I was fucking,
the NCR helmets were great.
I was like nobody knows. No, like, if you don't know the game, like, you're like,
cool helmet.
That's cool helmet.
Right.
I was fucking losing my shit.
Yeah.
I was like, anyways, yeah, he's fantastic. And they did so many cool, smart things with his story, because it was interesting when he like basically gives Lucy up to the Mr. Handy robot, which we got a fucking backstory with his character,
which was great too. Yeah.
And he basically, like, after that whole thing's gone down, he's got all the fucking, you know, was it like Radaway or whatever? I don't know
what that was, to be honest.
But he's got all of it that he could need. Like, he was doing jobs for Caps to keep living. And
then he blows it. You know, like, he stays there and basically gets like so drunk off of the supply that he just like passes out, and then the government arrests him. But, you know, like, you know, besides all of that,
right? Like, but what I'm saying is, like, at that point, he was like, there was not really a need for him to, like, I guess, go after Lucy, or like all he, like, his needs were being met. But then I guess, like, you kind of, so like, there was not this like animosity towards her or whatever. It was just like a job. But then you like slowly have it revealed that like his connection with Moldaver, and like, that's why he keeps going. Which I don't know, just, it wasn't like, everything that was predictable about this show was satisfying, like super satisfying, and the rest of it just was not predictable, and it kept you like intrigued, and it subverted expectations. And I have so many questions about Moldaver, and like, how is she alive? I don't know.
Now, I thought what would have been a really good twist was, and I think what they did was better, but I had barely seen Moldaver, and when they showed us Cooper Howard's wife, and maybe this is like a little racist of me for me to like think this was the same person, but I was like, was that Moldaver? Like, was Cooper, you know? But no, it was just the lady, which was wild that Moldaver was around before the bombs too. Is that what we're saying? Like,
yeah, that was,
yeah, right.
yeah.
I mean, how? So they don't ever explain how like she survived without being a ghoul.
That's what I'm saying.
I would love to know how she survived until the very end of season 1. But yeah, Moldaver was very cool, and having her tied to Cooper Howard's story, I liked. Bummer that they weren't really able to meet ever again, right? Those two, I don't think ever met in the season finale, right?
I mean, she was there,
right?
When she was dead,
right? She was dead, right? Yeah. No, but yeah, I mean, I think tying, yeah, like all of Cooper Howard's story into the Vault-Tec story and making him such a central figure was perfect for the story.
Yeah, and he kind of got to be that that character of like, I'm just kind of out for me, or
right.
You know, like
to find my family. That's perfect, right? And that's essentially a ton of Fallout stories, right? It's just I need to find my family.
And like, I know like our friend Ryan was like, oh, I wish it wasn't like I gotta find my dad's story,
right?
But like
but for a Fallout story, that's great.
But like for me, I'm like, but that is what so much of the Fallout like stories have been. It would feel strange. Like I like that I'll find my dad, I'll find my mom, but I'll
find my son.
It's not the same story. Like the story between Lucy and her dad.
Oh my gosh. It's wonderful. I think going like her, like, and I think her story, like, of the 3 characters is probably my second favorite now. Like at this point, she's my favorite character. Really? Wow. I think her story is really great. I think pairing her with both of the other main characters was a really smart decision. I loved her and Maximus's like romance and their friendship. Oh, and then I loved the back and forth she had with the ghoul. But yeah, I think like her shining moment in the series was walking into Moldaver's fully thinking she was going to rescue her dad. And then by the end, not even wanting to go home with him. Like being upset with Maximus that like he freed him, you know, like it was such a great turnaround for that character and something that, like the whole series was driving towards. It was a great moment for that series. Absolutely.
Yeah. She as a character she represents the like, she is like, for in terms of like in a TV show, she is all of us, or like people who are not experienced with Fallout. Like, sure, she is like doing the morally right thing, even though even in that vault they were doing some things that like,
but she didn't know of it.
Well, no, she was having sex with her cousin. Like, sure. So,
yeah, but everyone's your cousin in that vault.
I know.
You know.
So,
it is what it is.
But what she is, she obviously has like the greatest like character arc, because she is like this told and fed this idea of what she's supposed to be doing and how the world is, and then sees it a completely different way. And like is commentating on the wasteland and trying to do things that like everybody else is like, you're gonna die, you can't do this, you're gonna die. And I think she's such a capable, intelligent, badass person. And also like soft and caring, and I just
trusting.
Like trusting. And I don't know. I think her performance is the actress, like she just really sells me.
She perfectly encapsulates like innocence, like embodied in a person, you know, like innocence and morality and goodness, you know, like that's Lucy. But,
like I don't know.
By the end of the show, she's not the same character, which is wild. Yeah,
she's not, but she's like, she still has her core like values, but like like it'll be interesting to see how much she's changed, because like she changes, and
that amount of information being dumped on you, like about your entire life being a lie is just, that's got to be like mind altering, you know, like you can't be the same person again.
And Kyle MacLachlan, who plays her dad, like,
oh, I love him. Yeah.
You loved him so much when you first meet him. Like,
oh yeah, great dad.
And like, despite the fact that he's a horrible person, like treacherous, horrible person, he still does love his daughter.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I think to a certain extent, when he was trying to explain, like, look, your mom was taking you and your brother out into danger. Like, I can't.
So I nuked a whole city for you.
Look, I don't
like, damn, dude.
It was horrible, but like, I can understand, like, he wanted to keep her safe, and he was a part of this, like, the fucking Vault Tech storyline where it all comes down to this capitalistic, narcissistic way of thinking of like, this is how we want to, we're going to have our,
this is how all of our companies succeed in the end, is because no one else will exist.
No one will exist.
Only companies, and we will rebuild society to serve our companies.
And everybody gets to play out their version of how they would like to
make a perfect society.
And I was like, that is so, it taps into like such a core horrible feeling associated with like business and human nature, that I was like, wow, like that is actually more terrifying that it was all just for business reasons.
And it's but it's such a good logical reason. Like it's like the perfect answer I had been wanting to like the question of like, why is Vault-Tec doing this shit? And it's this, like, it makes perfect sense to me. It's really great writing. Really great writing.
And like, I just love like little intricate things, like when you learn about the backstory of Vault 4, and it's like you even have like the absurdity, but it's still like, it's serious, but it's still absurd, of like the scientist in the video is like, this still doesn't mean that it's not a good idea for scientists to ever be in charge solely of a vault.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, okay. But yeah, I mean, and so like, I still feel like there's a humanity to Hank. But I think their relationship, like I thought like maybe Hank's like, that's it.
I don't think there's a humanity to Hank, to be honest.
There might not be, but like,
I think it's just his family he cares about.
That's what I'm saying. Like, mostly his family is the humanity. Okay. I thought like he might die in the finale after all of that. But the fact that like now we're chasing after where he's going to, I think is super exciting. And I was trying to like, because I had brought up to you, like, I would be okay if each season was like an anthology, but then you were kind of saying like, no, it's got to be like this bigger thing, which it did end up being, and it is becoming a bigger overarching story. And this to me feels like, in terms of like a game, like this feels like part 1 of like 4 or 5 of like, we're like a 4th or a 5th into the game. And
I would say at least part 1 of 3. I think there's going to be at least 3 seasons.
Yeah, at least part 1 of 3. I'm hoping for a little bit more, but but like, it did feel like we got a big amount of the story, but like, we haven't even gotten like our characters, if we're thinking about them in game terms, like they're still not that powerful.
Well, and like we haven't even gotten to Maximus's part of the story yet, and like
he's a great character.
He's a great character, and I just think his part of the story serves the overall story less than the other two, which is why like he might be my 3rd favorite story of the 3. But I think what a lot of this season does for Maximus is setting him up for season 2. You know, like he finally has come to a place at the end of the season where he knows what he wants. But it's much different than he thought that it, like what he wanted. So that's
from
not how it was like at the very beginning of the season, it's a lot different than what he wanted then. Right.
Yeah.
And I think having him in a position of power in the Brotherhood and being able to maybe alter things within the Brotherhood and then maybe help later down the line and get to Lucy, I think that is like, that's where his story is going to like serve the best. Whereas like this season was a journey for him to get to that point, you know, where he learned what it was like to be a Knight of the Brotherhood, and be out in the wasteland and met somebody he fell in love with. And I mean, I think it was a good journey though. Like I enjoyed Maximus's journey. It just didn't feel as important at points to like the Ghoul and Lucy, you know?
Sure. And I agree with you. I think it's going to be very interesting to see him in a position of leadership,
right,
of this faction in the Wasteland that is technology centric and has their own viewpoint of how to change the world, right, that is now in charge of this cold fusion, like great power,
right,
that not only is the person that he now is romantic with, he wants to go seek and find, but that her dad is the man who dropped a bomb on where he lived.
And then immediately knocked him out. So he probably wants to kill that guy. I'm sure.
And there's going to be a lot of like tension in that whole situation.
But I don't think you think Lucy's going to like eventually come to like defend her dad again? Because that would be where the drama stems from, is like her not wanting Maximus to kill her dad, you know?
I think there might be. There might be.
There has to be, I think. I don't know how we get there, but we will.
But I think Maximus as a character was a really interesting one. And like,
I love seeing the insides of the Brotherhood of Steel. I think that was really great with his story.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I really loved that. I really loved seeing him, you know, I really love seeing, like you were saying, him on the under, with like having to be a squire to this super like toxic environment of like getting beaten and like scared shitless like all the time, and like having to clean
environment,
you know, clean this metal plate groin piece. And then as soon as he is in power, and also like he has these hints
the same shit,
of like ambition and like a power trip, like he does the same thing. Obviously, like
that's what he's learned, right? Yeah,
it's what he's learned. But I do like, because you even think like, did he sabotage his friend?
I mean, you don't ever really know who does it, so he could have.
He could have.
Know.
And that's one of the things, is like he is like, at least I felt watching his character was like, there is more to this character. Like he does have some, I do believe he has some ambitions, and he is not like, I love that moment where he just fesses up to Lucy and she's like, I just threw acid on this guy's face, like
an innocent man's face.
And right? I've been here for 2 weeks. Like, don't beat yourself up. Like there's layer. Like he is a good person.
He is. The fact that he would admit all that stuff in that moment proves he is a good person. You know?
Yeah, but he's still like willing and very capable of doing some pretty bad things.
Stuff. Yeah.
Like very easily could have just left with that fusion core.
He would have. Yeah, he would have if Lucy didn't talk him out of it. But I don't blame him in a sense, because he was still like, I got to get this power armor back. So I mean, and that's another cool thread that we're leaving, is that there's just a power armor out in the wasteland that we don't know about. But maybe that isn't a necessary thread that needs to be revisited, since he'll be a knight and get his own armor. And
Yeah.
So,
I think it's probably that.
I think one of the weirdest, and we probably should wrap this up because we are like 35 minutes in.
Okay.
But I think you know, and I won't even say that part. I'll just go into like my last favorite part of the show, which was the mystery of like Bud's buds of finding out that the entire mystery of where Lucy came from was that the execs of Vault Tech were cryogenically stored in Vault 31. And then when they needed somebody, they would take them out of cryogenic storage and place them in an overseer position within Vault 32 and 33. And so they were like their own gene pool to like intermingle with and manage, basically. it was a great mystery throughout the entire season. Probably one of my like favorite parts of the entire show. And I love that like Bud Askins was still alive at the end. Like he was still this like Roomba, like robot with a brain
Roomba.
And now Norm is stuck in that vault now. And curious if he's going to be cryogenically frozen or not.
I don't think so. I think, everything about, I love a good vault mystery, and that was a great one. Loved that. And like, there's still so much to go into next season with that. Like, there's still a whole like, Betty is still in charge. We still have now. We've got a 32 and a 33 like functioning again, and who knows whatever they're gonna do to 32 or whatever the fuck. If they're gonna, I'm assuming 32 is the experimental.
But I think
part.
The only thing that really is gonna happen. I mean, like logically, if Norm gets out, it's just gonna be a complete riot. Like I don't think there's a lot more to go with that storyline.
I think I don't know. It depends on how they play it. I mean, like it was they were able to like keep this tension, and like even because you see the people who like the guy that was in love with Lucy and like was helping Norm, like his cousin or whatever. He and the girl that, like, even though the girl that lost her eye like wanted like revenge and everything, like they all start to just like accept like, there is something weird, but like, come on, let's just live and go to our comfortable life. Like, I don't want problems, I don't want trouble. And I love the fact that so many of the people in the vault are just they're so morally try to be so morally correct, but it's for their own detriment.
Like, for sure.
We can rehabilitate these wastelanders, and I'm like, you are gonna get yourselves killed.
Or the guy who like kept confessing like who he voted to or voted for in the election. God. I voted for Betty, by the way. So, I got that.
So like, I think like there could be a sense of like, hey guys, this is what's fucking going on. It's like,
but like 32 had a pretty bad reaction when they found out, like we saw all the damage.
Do you think that's what they think? You think they found out?
Yeah, for sure. And then they just like lost their minds that they were a part of this experiment the whole time.
Okay. But either way,
we'll see
like,
if 33 is different. Yeah.
Either way, like somebody, like they're either gonna keep that vault running somehow, or they're gonna leave. Maybe, I don't know. There's something.
Yeah, I mean,
there's more to that story.
If Lucy comes back and tells them that their mission is just is like a joke, then I think they could leave. But I don't know if they'll believe her.
Right. Yeah.
So a lot of very, very cool things in store for season 2.
Yeah.
Very, very excited.
And I'm really interested to know who Hank is going to.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all maybe assume it's maybe Mr. House, but we don't really know. We don't really know, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, but Mr. House would be only like one of the only few people in the world who could like give us the answers that we need, right?
Right.
So, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Very, very good season.